Now, other interesting cultural news, you have Bud Light continuing to crash and burn. Now, even more analysts are starting to come out and say there's no coming back. They're not going to recover these customers that they previously lost. Ever since the date is hilarious. On April 1st, they actually hired Dylan Mulvaney as their spokesperson, and that caused them again to lose $28 billion in value, millions upon millions of dollars in sales. Every week, again, they're making about lost about 27 to 30% of their sales compared to the same week the year before. And it's not one of those things where people are drinking less. The competitors are increasing their market share. Now, this has led to a fascinating cultural appreciation for Yuengling. They've been around forever. They're the United States' oldest still operating brewery. Still family owned too, which is an incredible testament and an awesome thing, in my opinion, to have a business successfully passed down from generation to generation, providing countless jobs for the family and the community, and providing a great product for the end user. Now, that is the lack of politics that Yuengling has done. They're not participating in all these campaigns or messages or political messaging, and that's why I think a lot of people are attracted to that brand now, because they don't want to have an awkward conversation at work. Well, I guess most companies can't drink at. I guess when a picnic or a party or a bar, you just want to have a beer. You don't want to tell people, well, I still like the brand because of XYZ, or I don't like the brand because of XYZ. They just want to unplug and have a beer. Now, getting down into the numbers of how much these brands are increasing or decreasing their market share, this is according to a beer tracker by the name of Bump Williams Consulting, and this is for the week ending June 24th, and all these percentages are compared to the sales rates of last year to this year. So it looks like Bud Light sales are down 28% compared to the same week last year. Now, more importantly, looking at their competition, you have Yuengling sales rose 22%, which is huge for a business to have that much of a bump. And they're not spending any additional money on marketing. It's great for that family-owned business. They're not having to do a $100 million marketing campaign. Bud Light and the parent company, Anheuser-Busch InBev, they said they're going to spend 3 times as much in marketing this summer as last summer. I don't suspect it's going to work because people don't feel it's an authentic brand. They pissed off the left and the right and confused the hell out of the center so that people don't want to have those awkward conversations. They're just not going to buy Bud Light. And because the competition is literally inches away at the grocery store, the products are right next to each other, you're going to see it's very easy for them to choose the competition. So if Yuengling sales are up 22%, anecdotally speaking, at my store over in the great state of Texas, some call it a country as well. Now, in Texas, I looked at my local Walmart, you look at the beer section, and there was one section where there's just a hollowed out hole. Nothing there. I looked at the little product SKUs. They were all Yuengling bottles and Yuengling cans of beer. There weren't any. However, on the opposite side of the equation, the whole shelf of Bud Light was untouched. Same with Budweiser, same with Michelob Ultra, and several other properties that Anheuser-Busch InBev owns. Granted, that's anecdotally just my one store over in Texas, but it's interesting to see all this anecdotal evidence add up, and here's a little bit more hard facts behind these numbers. So you have Yuengling raising their sales 22% compared to the same week last year. You also have Coors. Their sales are up 19%. And anecdotally speaking, just walking down the aisle, I saw 2 people pick up beer. One was Coors. It looks like a little bit older gentleman, maybe in his 60s. And the other was, I think it was a middle-aged woman, and she actually picked up a pack of Miller. And compared to the same sales week last year, Miller is up 16%. Fascinating to see from a cultural perspective. More and more people are starting to realize the boycott is happening, and they're voting with their dollar. And it's one of those things where, kind of like a bad relationship, if you make a mistake and you just show up with a diamond ring or a diamond necklace, or if you show up with some tangible little knickknack or gift, but you don't say you're sorry or don't address the situation that brought you to that awkward moment, you're not really fixing anything. You're putting a band-aid on the situation. You're trying to buy someone's love, or in this case, in terms of Bud Light, you're trying to buy your customers back. I don't think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. And the CEO, Brandon Whitworth, he's in a very awkward situation because if he does, he won't do this. He has to be basically a politician, which he's very good at in his 3. But in terms of his action items, if he comes out and say, hiring Dylan Mulvaney was a huge mistake, we'll never do that again, we're going to get out of politics. If he does that, he will get the left extremely irate and they will boycott him exponentially. Granted, with the current demographic of sales, I don't know what the percentage is of those people who buy the products, but even with him acquiescing most responsibility and he won't even say they won't hire Dylan again, but because Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light, they didn't stand up for Dylan in their own words, or rather critique's own words, you're having gay bars across the United States who are dropping Bud Light as well. There's a parent company or a business who owns, I believe, 4 bars within the Chicagoland area, and they were gay bars, and the owner said they dropped Bud Light because they did not stick with Dylan Mulvaney. Same thing with a couple bars in Minnesota as well. Those are, politically speaking, very left areas. You have Illinois, Minnesota, very much Democratic states, and this issue has become a political issue. So you're having people on all sides of the aisle dropping your products and boycotting you, and they think spending money on marketing is going to help. If I were a gambling man, I would say outlook is not so good because, again, they're just almost like pretending the situation didn't happen. And the most that the CEO has ever said was, well, we just want to get back to making beer. Well, yeah, that should be your job the whole time. But because of your actions and lack of their actions, you've also not only lost $28 billion in stock valuation, millions by millions of dollars in sales, we also caused 2 bottling plants to close down. So there's 2 businesses whose job was, their main contract was with Bud Light. They had to lay off about, I believe, 600 employees because people aren't buying that swill Bud Light anymore, so they don't need the bottles for that brand. And hopefully all those employees are able to find gainful employment and perhaps a competitor's bottling plant, because you do have Yuengling, you have Miller, you have Coors increasing their sales, and hopefully those plants will need more employees so that overall not a lot of jobs are lost. But again, the Bud Light business blunder of the century just continues to get worse, and I don't see them coming out of this tailspin. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas or theories of how they might be able to do it, but as Manager 8 Ball might say, I mean, outlook is not so good. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers this month, so I really appreciate you taking time to click that subscribe button. Don't forget to like as well as leave comments. The feedback is greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.